I never thought I would have one of those mother-in-law horror stories, but here I am. My mother-in-law, Victoria, has always been a bit intense, but I never thought she would take things this far. My father-in-law, Charles, 56, male, is a quiet man who mostly stays out of the drama, and my husband, Nathan, 28, male, is the most supportive person in my life. I, 28, female, am currently pregnant with our first child, and this is where things started getting weird. When we first told Victoria about the pregnancy, she was over the moon. She kept talking about how she always knew she would be a grandmother soon and that she had a strong intuition about these things. I brushed it off as excitement, and at first I appreciated her enthusiasm. But then she started acting a little too involved in ways that made me uncomfortable. A few weeks after sharing the news, she gave me a pendant as a gift. She said it was a protection pendant and insisted I wear it at all times. According to her, it would ward off any evil and keep me and the baby safe. It was a small, old-looking charm on a chain, and she made a big deal about how it had been blessed and would bring me good fortune. I thanked her and put it on to be polite, but I did not really believe in that kind of thing. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then Victoria became obsessed with whether or not I was wearing it. If I ever forgot to put it on, or if she saw me without it, she would make a huge deal out of it. She would lecture me about how I was inviting negativity into my life and how I needed to take things more seriously. She even went as far as to tell Nathan that I was being careless about the baby's well-being because I was not following spiritual protection. Things took an even weirder turn when she started monitoring everything I did. Suddenly, every single decision I made was up for discussion, and she always found something wrong with it. If I ate something she didn't approve of, she would shake her head and sigh dramatically. If I mentioned being tired, she would blame it on me not wearing the pendant or not following some superstition she believed in. She started making random visits to our house just to check on me. She would walk in and immediately start inspecting everything: what I was eating, how I was sitting, what I was doing, if I was watching TV. She would scold me for not doing something productive. If I was cleaning, she would say I was overexerting myself. It felt like I could not do anything right in her eyes. She also became obsessed with old wives' tales and insisted I follow them religiously. She told me I shouldn't be raising my arms above my head because it could tangle the baby's cord. She said I shouldn't be eating spicy food because it would make the baby angry. If I ever disagreed or even hesitated to follow her advice, she would get this disappointed look on her face and mumble about how I did not care enough. At family gatherings, she started making passive-aggressive comments about how some people don't take pregnancy seriously enough. She would tell stories about how some women in her generation did things the right way, and how new mothers these days do not listen to wisdom anymore. Every time I saw her, she found a new way to criticize me. One time I went out with my friends for lunch and she somehow found out. She called Nathan in a panic, saying that I shouldn't be exposing myself to too much energy from other people while pregnant. She said I needed to be more mindful of the energy I was letting into my space. When I got home, she was waiting for me and she started questioning me about where I went, what I ate, who I talked to. She acted like I had done something reckless just by going out for a meal. She also became obsessed with what I was wearing. If I wore jeans, she would frown and say that I should be wearing loose-fitting clothes to help the baby breathe. If I wore a dress, she would say I was exposing myself to bad energy by showing too much skin. No matter what I did, she had something to say about it. The worst part was how she made me feel guilty for not taking her advice seriously. She would tell me that she only wanted the best for me and the baby and that I should be grateful for her guidance. If I ever tried to push back, she would get teary-eyed and say that she was just trying to help. It was exhausting. Nathan tried to intervene a few times, but Victoria would always guilt-trip him by saying she was just being a good mother. and that she only wanted what was best for her grandchild. She made it seem like I was the unreasonable one for not appreciating her concern. I started feeling anxious every time I saw her name pop up on my phone. I knew it was just going to be another lecture or another warning about something I was supposedly doing wrong. Felt like she was watching my every move, just waiting for me to mess up so that she could correct me. The pendant, which had seemed harmless at first, started feeling like a symbol of her control over me. It was not about protection, it was about making sure I followed her rules. I tried to distance myself a little, but she wouldn't allow it. She started calling multiple times a day, asking if I was wearing the pendant, if I was eating the right foods, if I was following her advice. She even told me she had spoken to a spiritual guide who warned her that I was at risk of negative forces because I was not being careful enough. She made it sound like something terrible was going to happen if I did not listen to her. At one point, she even suggested I should stay with her during the last few months of pregnancy so that she could watch over me properly. She said she didn't trust me to take care of myself the way I should. She implied I was being reckless and I needed her supervision. And when I said no, she got offended and said I was shutting her out for no reason. Even when I was not around her, I felt like she was there, judging my every move. If I posted anything online, she would call me to ask why I was wasting time on social media instead of resting. If I bought something for the baby that she didn't approve of, she would tell Nathan that we were making a mistake. It never ended. I don't know how things got to this point, but I feel like I can't breathe without Victoria having an opinion on it. The pendant was just the beginning. Now it feels like she's trying to control every single aspect of my pregnancy. No matter what I do, it's never enough for her. I had taken it off one night before bed. It had started to feel heavy around my neck, like it carried some kind of weight beyond its physical form. I tossed it on my nightstand, and for the first time in months I felt a small sense of relief without it. Next morning, I forgot to put it back on. Victoria showed up unannounced, as she often did, and immediately noticed it was not around my neck. She looked almost panicked, and that was the first thing that made me feel like something was really off. She kept asking me if I had lost it, telling me how important it was, and even went as far as to insist I go get it and put it on right away. Her reaction was extreme, way beyond her usual obsessive behavior. It was not just about the superstition anymore, it was something more. That night, curiosity got the better of me. I picked up the pendant and examined it more closely. It looked old and a little worn out, but I had never really paid attention to the details before. I noticed a small indentation at the back, almost like a tiny compartment. My heart started racing as I pried it open. Inside, instead of a charm or religious token, I found something far more sinister. A tiny, barely noticeable camera. My stomach dropped. The realization hit me all at once. Victoria had been spying on me. I felt sick as I stared at the hidden lens. My mind racing with questions. How long had she been watching me? What had she seen? I thought about all the times I had worn it during private moments, vulnerable times when I thought I was alone. The invasion of privacy was worse than anything I could have imagined. I ran to my laptop and started researching hidden cameras. From what I could tell, this was a small, discreet model, often used for covert surveillance. I checked the pendant for any signs of connectivity. If she had been actively monitoring me, there had to be a way she was receiving the footage. My hands shook as I pried further into the device, and sure enough, tucked away near the hinge of the pendant was a tiny transmitter. She had been watching me in real time. I felt violated in a way I could not even describe. My mother-in-law had gone beyond controlling. She had turned into something far worse. She was not just monitoring my pregnancy, she was invading my life, my privacy, my home. My stomach churned at the thought of how much she might have seen how many private conversations she had listened in on, how she had been tracking my every move. I knew I could not let this slide. This was beyond family drama. This was illegal. I took photos of the pendant, documenting the camera, the transmitter, every detail I could find, and then without hesitation, I called the police. When I told them what I'd found, they took me seriously right away and they sent an officer to my house. I handed over the pendant as evidence. I explained how Victoria had insisted I wear it at all times, how she had reacted so strongly when I was not wearing it, how she always seemed to know things she shouldn't have known. The officer agreed that this was a serious breach of privacy and that they would be investigating further. Now, I don't know what's going to happen next. I have not told Nathan yet. I don't even know how to begin, but one thing is clear. Victoria went too far this time. And whatever happens, I will never trust her again. AITA for calling the cops on my mother-in-law after finding out what she did with the pendant. Update 1. We have taken legal action against Victoria. The discovery of the hidden camera in the pendant she had gifted me was only the beginning. The police took my report seriously, and once the investigation started, things escalated quickly. Victoria's actions had gone far beyond controlling behavior. They were invasive, illegal, and disturbing. When the news broke among our relatives, panic spread like wildfire. Victoria had always been a little overbearing, but no one had imagined she was capable of something so sinister. People started questioning every gift she had ever given them. At first it felt almost paranoid, but soon the fear was justified. One by one, family members began checking their homes, personal belongings, and even gifts Victoria had given them over the years. The results were horrifying. A few of them found cameras hidden in jewelry, decorative items, and even in a small household objects she had gifted. It became clear that I was not the only one she was watching. Victoria had been spying on multiple people, though no one knew for how long or what she had been hoping to gain from it. The more we uncovered, the worse it got. One cousin found a small recording device hidden inside a decorative photo frame Victoria had given her as a wedding gift. Another relative, her own sister, discovered a camera inside a porcelain figure that had been sitting in her living room for years. It was as if Victoria had planted these devices everywhere, watching, listening, gathering information on everyone in the family. We were horrified. The sheer level of deceit and manipulation was sickening. Victoria had always been controlling, but this was something entirely different. It was calculated and predatory. Everyone who had found a hidden device filed a police report, and the investigation grew larger. The authorities confiscated the items, documenting evidence as they pieced together the extent of her surveillance. Nathan was in shock. He had always defended his mother, brushing off her behavior as overprotectiveness. But this was undeniable. He felt betrayed and disgusted, struggling to reconcile the woman who had raised him with the woman who had so blatantly violated our privacy. His father, Charles, was equally stunned. He had never imagined Victoria would go to such lengths, and as the evidence piled up, he became more distant from her, unable to look at her the same way. Victoria, on the other hand, refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing. She tried to downplay the situation at first, claiming the cameras were for protection, that she had no malicious intent. But when confronted with the overwhelming evidence, she grew defensive and then aggressive. She accused us of betraying her, twisting the situation to make herself the victim. Her usual manipulation tactics weren't working anymore. No one was on her side. Legal action was inevitable. With multiple reports filed, the police launched a full investigation into her activities. They retrieved records, checked for any connections to remote storage, and tried to determine how long this had been going on. Victoria was forced to hand over any remaining devices she had, but at that point the damage had already been done. Trust was shattered. No one in the family wanted anything to do with her. The media caught wind of the story when someone anonymously leaked the details. While our names were kept out of it, the reports of a mother-in-law caught spying on her family through hidden cameras became a scandal. Online forums picked up the story and people everywhere weighed in, horrified by what had happened. Some called Victoria mentally unstable, while others speculated that she had deeper, more sinister motives. Whatever the case, the public outrage only added to the legal pressure building against her. As for me, I could not shake the feeling of being watched. Even after removing the pendant and knowing she no longer had access, I felt violated in a way that was hard to explain. The sense of security in my own home was gone. I found myself double-checking every device, every object she had ever touched, making sure there weren't any more hidden cameras lurking where I least expected them. Nathan and I started therapy to process everything that had happened. He struggled with the guilt of not seeing his mother's true nature sooner, while I battled the lingering anxiety of knowing she had been watching my every move during my pregnancy. It was a violation that went beyond just me. It extended to my unborn child. And that thought alone made me furious. The legal process was slow but thorough. Victoria faced multiple charges, including invasion of privacy and illegal surveillance. With so many victims coming forward, the case against her was overwhelming. She had no defense, no way to talk her way out of it this time. Her world was crumbling and she had no one to blame but herself. Despite everything, part of me still struggled to understand why. What had she been looking for? What had she hoped to gain from watching us? Was it just about control, or was there something deeper? I knew I would probably never get answers, and maybe that was for the best. As we waited for the trial to unfold, life slowly started returning to normal. The house felt safer, though the scars of what had happened remained. I still caught myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to find another hidden camera. The paranoia was not easy to shake, but with time, I hoped it would fade. Victoria, once the matriarch of the family, was now a pariah. No one spoke to her. No one defended her. She had destroyed any chance of redemption, and the consequences of her actions were finally catching up to her. Update 2. Since everyone came forward, we had a solid case. We took Victoria to court, and now we're just waiting for the date. We tried to get Victoria to accept her mistake, but she did not. We had told her that we would let it go if she admitted to what she had done, but according to her, someone needs to have surveillance on the family, so here we are. As the court date approached, tensions ran high within the family. Some relatives still could not wrap their heads around the extent of Victoria's actions. Others were furious that she showed no remorse. Nathan struggled with the reality of taking his own mother to court, but after seeing how deeply her actions affected everyone, especially me, he knew it was the only way to hold her accountable. The paranoia had set in for all of us. Even though we had removed all the hidden devices we could find, there was always that nagging feeling. What if we missed one? What if Victoria had found another way to spy on us? Many family members, including Nathan's father, Charles, went so far as to hire professionals to sweep their homes for hidden cameras or bugs. It was a surreal, exhausting experience. Victoria's refusal to acknowledge any wrongdoing was the most infuriating part. She genuinely believed that her actions were justified, that she had some unspoken right to monitor everyone in the family. When we confronted her, hoping she would at least express some guilt, she doubled down. She told us we were overreacting, that she was only trying to protect us, and we should be thanking her instead of attacking her. Her complete lack of empathy made it clear that this was not just a misunderstanding. This was calculated and deliberate. The legal team assured us that with the number of victims coming forward, our case was strong. There were multiple counts of invasion of privacy, and in some states, hidden surveillance of individuals without consent carried severe penalties. Victoria did not seem to grasp the gravity of the situation. She acted as though she was the victim, as if we were betraying her instead of the other way around. While waiting for the court date, we learned that Victoria had been trying to turn certain relatives against us. She reached out to cousins, aunts, and even friends of the family, spinning the narrative that we were attacking her out of spite. Some people actually bought into her manipulation, believing that we were blowing things out of proportion. But when we showed them the evidence, the pendant, the cameras found in other gifts, the recordings from some of the devices, they quickly changed their stance. One of the most disturbing realizations was that Victoria had been doing this for years. Some of the gifts she had given out had been in people's homes for a long time, meaning she had access to private moments, personal conversations, and intimate details of our lives. The thought of it made me sick. How much had she seen? How much had she heard? And most importantly, what had she done with that information? Nathan had an especially hard time processing everything. He spent nights going through old conversations with his mother, trying to make sense of the woman he thought he knew. There were moments when I caught him staring at his phone, hesitating before responding to messages from family members who were still trying to make sense of everything. The betrayal ran deep, and there was no easy way to navigate it. As for Charles, he completely distanced himself from Victoria. He told Nathan he could not believe he had married someone capable of such actions. He started talking to lawyers about divorce, realizing that staying married to Victoria would only drag him down with her. Last time we spoke, he had moved into a small apartment and was trying to start over. When the police reviewed the footage from the cameras, they confirmed that some of them had been recording and transmitting data to an external source. Victoria had been actively monitoring us, possibly even keeping files on us. This revelation only strengthened the case against her, proving that it was not just a one-time mistake, it was a deliberate violation of our privacy. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Victoria still refused to accept responsibility. She dismissed the entire situation as family drama and insisted that she was only acting out of love. But love doesn't look like secret cameras hidden in gifts. Love doesn't mean violating people's privacy, spying on their personal lives, and refusing to acknowledge the harm done. As the court date drew nearer, we braced ourselves for the legal battle ahead. We had already lost any sense of normalcy, but at least now there was hope for justice. The biggest question lingering over all of us was simple. How could a mother do this to her own family? And more importantly, if we had not discovered the camera in the pendant, how much longer would she have kept watching? Update 3. Victoria got time in prison, even in court. She stuck to her narrative of looking over the family for their own good. She did not even try to defend herself. She outright accepted what she did and insisted she was right for doing so. The whole family is shaken up because of this. Several videos were found on Victoria's laptop, videos of the entire family, their private moments, everything. The discovery was horrifying. It was not just footage of casual family gatherings. It was deeply personal moments, things that no one should have been able to see. The level of surveillance she had on all of us was beyond anything we could have imagined. Some of the family members broke down in court when the evidence was presented. It was undeniable proof of how far Victoria had gone to keep tabs on us. Despite everything, she remained emotionless, as if she truly believed she had done nothing wrong. She even scoffed when the judge read the charges against her. Her lack of remorse made the whole situation even more disturbing. It was not just violation of privacy, it was a betrayal of trust that could never be undone. She had been a part of our lives for years, pretending to care, pretending to love us, while secretly monitoring our every move. The prosecution laid out the timeline of her surveillance, and it became clear this had been going on for years, possibly even before I entered the family. Every gift she had given, every thoughtful trinket, had been a means for her to spy on us. The pendant she gave me was only the beginning. She had gifted hidden cameras to almost every family member. The worst part was that no one had suspected a thing. We had all trusted her, never imagined the true extent of her obsession with control. The videos found on her laptop were extensive. It was not just random footage, it was categorized, labeled with our names, dates, and even detailed notes. She had documented arguments, intimate moments, private conversations. The realization that she had seen everything left us feeling sick. Some of the footage even included moments that no one should ever have been able to witness, things that happened behind closed doors in our most vulnerable states. It was beyond creepy. It was horrifying. When the police first raided her home and confiscated her devices, we thought we had an idea of what we would find, but nothing could have prepared us for the reality. Victoria had been watching our children, our parents, even friends who visited our homes. There was no limit to her invasiveness. Family members reacted in different ways. Some were devastated, breaking down in tears, unable to process the betrayal. Others were enraged, struggling to hold back their anger as they sat in the courtroom, forced to listen to the evidence against her. Her own husband, Charles, looked like he was about to collapse. He had no idea what she had been doing. The betrayal hit him the hardest. He had spent his entire life with her, never suspecting that the woman he married was secretly monitoring everyone they loved. Her sentence was short, but for many of us, it still did not feel like enough. Nothing could undo the damage she caused. The mental and emotional toll of knowing we had been watched for years was something we would carry forever. Therapy became a necessity for many of us, especially those who had found out their most intimate moments had been recorded. Some family members could not even bring themselves to watch the evidence. They chose ignorance over the pain of knowing just how much Victoria had seen. Even after her sentencing, the paranoia did not go away. Everyone started checking their homes, throwing out any gifts Victoria had ever given them. Hidden cameras were found in places we had not even considered. It was not just jewelry. There were cameras hidden in decorative items, stuffed animals, even electronic devices she had gifted over the years. The realization that she had been this meticulous, this methodical, made it even worse. This was not just some moment of insanity. It was a deliberate, well thought out plan to keep control over everyone around her. No one in the family speaks of her anymore. It's like she never existed. Charles filed for divorce immediately after the trial, unable to even look at her. He moved away, wanting to put as much distance between himself and the memories as possible. The rest of us tried to move on, but it was impossible not to feel the weight of what had happened. Gatherings are different now. We are all more cautious, more guarded. No one trusts easily anymore. There's always an underlying fear that someone else might try to do the same thing. We know it's unlikely, but after everything, it's hard to feel safe. The damage is done. Victoria will spend years in prison, but for us, the scars she left behind will never fade. The only thing we can do now is try to heal, try to rebuild the trust that was shattered. But one thing is certain, we will never let our guard down again. Update 4. Hi, it has been a while since I updated. I received a few comments asking about how we are coping with the situation, so here it is. Victoria got out of prison due to good behavior. She reached out to the whole family, but no one responded. No one wants to reopen that chapter of their lives. And we have all made it clear that she is no longer welcome in our lives. Despite her attempts to reconnect, we have all chosen to prioritize our peace and well-being over giving her another chance. Some wounds are too deep to heal with just time. Everyone is happier now. The weight of the past is gone and we have all moved on. Nathan and I are busy with our child, focusing on building a positive, loving environment for our family. Life feels peaceful and we cherish every moment without the constant presence of Victoria looming over us. Charles bought a house close to ours and he's doing well. He seems genuinely happy nowadays. We see him often and he seems more at peace than he has been in years. Victoria is out of our lives for good, and we intend to keep it that way. The past was painful, but we have all come out stronger, and for that, we are grateful. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.